The Louie T Network is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHeads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description.
Who else could it be? For me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to the Command Post Live. You know what it is. Post up. Take command. Of course, I'm your commander-in-chief, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. So, jam-packed show for you tonight. The excitement is building. It's becoming palpable. You can cut it with a knife. The tension is getting thick. We're so excited and ready to see these boys take the field. But one step at a time, let's get these practices in. If I heard correctly, I think pads go on Tuesday. Is the first time that there will be a padded practice. I don't like to make too much of anything that we hear at camp in the trenches in particular, because we are going to talk about that tonight, because there were some things from practice today that I do want to mention. I don't like to get into too much of the specifics in terms of how I feel about the offensive line, defensive line, when there are no pads. I don't want to talk about the run game when there are no pads, because those things matter, right? But the skill guys, no pads, it doesn't matter. Can you cover a guy? It doesn't matter if you have pads on or not. So catches, quarterback play, that kind of stuff, I'm into it. That's why 7-on-7 is such a big deal. That's why you got high school kids playing 7-on-7 and being in leagues, and because that shit matters, right? Quarterback dropping back, reading the field, finding his receiver, that translates whether you have pads on or not. So, we really get fixated on those things, and for good reason. And listening to guys like Nick Gates talk about, the offensive line, he's like, bro, I'd love to give you a little bit more, but we don't have pads on yet, man. It's kind of hard to say. We're still working, and there are no pads. So, day two produced a number of people, 9 in total, who spoke today. You had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 formal press conferences, and then 4 scrum interviews, media scrum interviews off the practice field. So we'll talk about what each of those individuals had to say today. I'll talk about my news, notes, and observations from day 2 of practice. I've got a conversation that I want to have with you about 2 players on this team in particular. Obviously, we're going to talk about Sam. That's going to be one of the themes of this camp into the preseason and then eventually into the regular season. We will be talking about Sam Howell quite a bit. Now, let's go through a lot of the interviews from today in the pressers. Let's start with the head coach, Ron Rivera, get him out of the way. Let's get the vegetables out of the way. So Ron talked about practice, the crispness of it. Of course, he had to talk about the fan participation. This was the first practice that was open to the fans. And so Ron spoke about that. Obviously, there was a little bit more excitement and added juice with the fans out there. The new stands was all the talk of the town, right? It was so much of the conversation dominated by, I can chuckle and laugh at it now because it feels good. It feels good. Yeah. It feels good. It feels good that we can look at something, and, it's something so small, right, that you take for granted. Probably 29 of the other 31 teams have had stands outside of their practice, field and facility where fans can sit for years. But our new owner comes in and he just does the slightest thing, and we're so excited. It's amazing what happens when you're deprived for so long. Anyway, Ron talked about that, the energy coming from the crowd and, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. He talked about the offense and liking, some of the things he saw from them, some of the crispness from them. And, he talked about how he expects practice to start to really ramp up here shortly. Pads go on. Obviously, dog days of summer sets in. Those things are coming. He talked about Da'Ron Payne, updated us on him. Toe injury, didn't practice again today, and said, we just got to let the medicine take effect, whatever that means. I just want him to heal up. Like, I'm not tripping about Da'Ron Payne not being in practice in July. That's how I operate. This isn't a story until we get to September and we're still talking about Da'Ron Payne's toe. If they handle this correctly, we won't be talking about his toe after he comes back. And he could miss 2 weeks with this toe. I don't care. Just get it healthy. That's what I care about. So, Ron pretty much kept it quick and short. This wasn't a long one. This is the third day in a row we've heard from Ron, so it's a relatively quick presser for him. He did talk about Chase, and Chase was a big topic of conversation there. He's going to be a topic of conversation tonight. But he said, the get off looks legit. That Chase went back and worked with Larry Johnson, which we know was his coach at Ohio State, the father of the former Chiefs running back and former Redskins running back, Larry Johnson. Let's move on to Jacoby Brissett, because he took the podium. Obviously, yesterday we had Sam take the podium. So it's supposed to be a battle, right? So now we got to talk to the other quarterback, Jacoby Brissett. I like Jacoby. I didn't think I would like him as much. I like Jacoby. Down-to-earth guy. Says how he feels. I love players that speak their mind. I love players who can articulate, how they feel. You can tell when guys don't want to do the press hits. And I get it if that's not your thing. Jacoby Brissett, I can tell, doesn't mind doing the press hits. He could think of other things that he could be doing with his time than talking to the media. But you keep hearing this term and phrase when hearing about Jacoby Brissett, and he's a professional. I get those vibes from him. Strong professional vibes from Jacoby Brissett, and he can fit in any room. You want to button it up, put a tie on, Jacoby Brissett can do that. You want to kick it, you want to kick back, have a cold one, chill, Jacoby Brissett can do that. He can fit in any environment. And he's a really welcome addition to this team. And of course, he's saying all the right things. I love when players can talk about other players. Like, if I don't know what another player is doing, or I don't really have anything to add to that, it's okay to say, I really don't know what that guy is doing, right? Instead of you just bullshitting your way through an answer. Because we see that quite often. So if you don't know, just say, yeah, I really don't know what's going on. Like, I'm a defensive lineman. You're asking me about a corner. I really don't know what's going on back there, right? It's okay to say that. But if you do know, I'd love for you to, give me a well thought out and a well constructed answer. And they asked him about Sam, and he could have been selfish and gave us a bullshit ass answer or said, "Hey man, smart guy, works hard," like the standard answers you give when you really don't know what to say. But he didn't. He really broke down like, yo, Sam has all the tools to be great, man. Like, Sam is this, he's that, he can do this well, and he talked about his time in New England and, all of the different quarterback rooms that he's been in and how that's helped him become the player that he is now And, he's trying to pass off some of that knowledge to Sam and Jake Fromm and all the other guys that are in the quarterback room. And so I like Jacoby Brissett, man. And he's like, yeah, I want to start. They came here. He said, my message to the players, my message to Sam in particular, is just compete every day. That's it. Bottom line is compete every single day. He said, I was in the room with Tom Brady and Jimmy Garoppolo, and they didn't say much, but I knew I had to go out and I had to compete every single day. And Tom set the example. Jimmy followed suit, and so did I. So, like Jacoby Brissett, he's really becoming a guy that I am taking a strong liking to. We heard from Emmanuel Forbes also at the podium today. First time for the young fella at the podium in this setting, camp, things of that nature. Didn't seem as relaxed as he did when he got drafted. He seemed like he was a little bit more relaxed and comfortable. Seemed a little bit annoyed today, and I don't know if that is the right term or not. Seemed like he just wanted to get it over with more so than anything else. And I can't say that I blame him. You're coming off the practice field. It's hot. You really just want to get in the AC and just kick it, or get in the cold tub, whatever it is you do to get your body ready for tomorrow. And now you got to answer some questions. So it wasn't the best, presser. The one thing that, and this is the thing he's going to learn very quickly, you got to watch what you say to the media, because sometimes they don't come with their own questions. You supply them with the ammunition, and he did that today. The first thing he talked about was what he's learned thus far, and, coming to all the OTAs and into camp now. And, he talked about different things that he's gotten better at, but then he brought up nutrition. And, that was a big topic of discussion when he was drafted, and he's so skinny and he needs to put on weight. And so he said nutrition, and they went nuts with it. And it ended up being like 4 or 5 nutritional questions. And he's like, why are you guys asking me about what I'm eating? Like, what am I eating? Like, he was like, what? You got to be careful, bro. Like, so his didn't really do much. They asked him about going up against Terry. That was probably one of the few questions that, he answered where he actually thought about it, but everything else was just like kind of quick. They asked him about Sam. He called Sam a great quarterback. And he said that, Sam knows where to go with the ball, this, that, and the third. So you could tell it was just one of those standard answers you give when somebody asks you about a quarterback. They could have asked him about Jake Fromm. He would have said the same damn thing. So I just know this. That young fella, and listening to Kendall Fuller, and that I got more out of listening to Kendall about Emmanuel Forbes than I did listening to Emmanuel Forbes talk about Emmanuel Forbes. So we'll talk about what Kendall Fuller had to say a little bit later on. I love Kendall Fuller. I just want you guys to know that. I've gone from defending Kendall Fuller from all of you baked ziti stands out there to, man, y'all better get the hell back and back off of my guy Kendall Fuller. Hell is wrong with y'all? Like, I ride for Kendall. Anyway, Chase Young and Jahan Dotson also stepped up to the mic. Let's talk about Jahan Dotson. So I think there's a theme with Jahan for this season right now. I think that theme that I have established is that he wants to prove to everybody that he is one of the best receivers in his draft class, and that he's going to be a force to be reckoned with in this league. And I think that he has a chance to really be dynamic in this offense. What's interesting is we haven't heard anything about Curtis Samuel this offseason. Nothing. It's been like radio silent. You know why? Because all of the noise is surrounding Terry and Jahan. And that's a great thing for a guy like Curtis Samuel, if we're being honest with one another, because nobody's talking about him. Hell, we even skipped over him and went to Diami. And Diami had a big day today. And Diami's had a strong 2 days to start camp. But we skipped over Curtis and we went straight to Diami. Nobody's talking about Curtis. And one of the reasons no one's talking about Curtis is because Jahan is the one everybody's focused and fixated on. And I think for good reason. This guy looks like he's ready to break out. And mentally, I think he's locked in and he's just ready to make plays. So he talked about, continuing to get on the same page with Sam and the quarterbacks. He talked about the importance of that trip out to Florida that we spoke about, that I talked about, after, the Diami Brown video, which kind of chronicled that, trip out there and the 3 days that they spent together. Han was out there for all 3 of the days. And he said, we got a lot of work in, we built a bond out there. And then that's the kind of things that help you transfer that over to the field. And so he said, yeah, we're making strides, continuing to get the playbook down and, feeling really comfortable about, the steps that we're taking. So I feel confident that Jahan's poised for a big time year. Last year, I think he had 500 and something yards. Obviously, the touchdown stood out. In 12 games, he missed 5 games, I believe. So I expect that number from a yardage standpoint to jump up. I don't know if he's going to eclipse 1,000 yards. We'll have to see. But I think he's going to be hovering around a rack if he stays healthy. That's going to be the biggest thing for him. If he doesn't hit it, I could see him hitting it. And it really just depends on the potency of this offense, the defense getting the ball back to the offense, and things of that nature. So Jahan seems prime for a big year, and I'm looking forward to seeing this young fella continue to grow. Chase Young was a big topic of discussion today, and rightfully so, because he's back. And this is what we've waited on. Last year it was anticlimactic. He came back when it was pretty much too late. I think his first game of the season was against San Francisco. Nobody expected to win that game. We were so bummed from the Giants loss. We really could have used him in that game. But you know what I realized, and I've been meaning to talk to you guys about this. You know what I realized, and as fans, we can get caught up. And I felt like I did a pretty good job of not doing this last year when so many people were doing this. But I probably had my moments last year when I was disappointed. I think I was my most disappointed in Chase when he didn't suit up for the Giants game, because the second one, because nobody expected him to play against the Falcons in the rain. At least I didn't expect him to play against the Falcons in the rain. It didn't make any sense. The Meadowlands have been tearing up knees since 2018, so I didn't want him playing on that turf. And so I was like, yo, take the bye week, get yourself ready, see you on Sunday Night Football in the biggest game of the season. And he didn't play. And I was really disappointed. I'm not going to lie. But in listening to Robert Griffin III, seeing what Lamar Jackson did last year, and then looking at Chase Young's situation, it all kind of makes sense to me. And when you listen to former players and they'll tell you, my ego got the best of me, I probably should have just sat out, got surgery, came back next year stronger, better, instead of trying to fight through injury, making it worse. Chris Cooley talks about that all the time. He made one of his injuries worse, and it shortened his career probably by a year or two. Like, if he'd have just said, to hell with it, this team isn't going anywhere anyway this year, let me just get the surgery done, I'll be back next year and I'll be better than ever, he probably would have been fine. But he tried to gut it out, played through it, made it worse. And, those things, they add up. And Robert Griffin III, like, in hindsight now, he wishes he wasn't all in for week 1. He wishes that he would have sat out instead of being jealous of Kirk because he had a whole different game plan set up for him against Cleveland. He wishes he would have sat out and let his leg heal up. But he didn't. And that's why he was telling Lamar, hey, bro, do not come back. I came back with a sprained LCL, and you saw what happened. I snapped my shit in half. Don't be like me. And everybody, I was included. I'm not going to sit here and act like I didn't jump down Lamar Jackson's throat and question, was this about the contract or are you really hurt? Like, I questioned him. And he probably really did have that sprained LCL, and he probably didn't need to play, and he made the right decision for his future. And you know what? Chase Young probably did the same damn thing. And it's a mental hurt. It's a really big hurdle to overcome when you do what he did to his knee. And you've never really truly been injured before. That's a big hurdle to overcome. And it took him a while. But he got there. Probably a week too late, but he got there. San Francisco, he came, he played the following week against the Browns, and then finished up the season against Dallas. And those 3 games, even though he didn't record a sack, but he got back on the field, that instilled the confidence that you see in him right now. And so fast forwarding back to present day, Chase talked about taking the brace off. We made a big deal out of Chase and Logan Thomas not sporting a knee brace for the first time since both of them had their respective knee surgeries. And so, Chase said, I've been not wearing a brace, every time he's been at the Commanders Park, he's had the knee brace on. So this is the first time he didn't have it on there. And so he's been working out all season. You watch the IG clips and things. He didn't have the knee brace on. So he had been working out without it. But now being in a crowd around people, actually engaging in physical contact without the brace is probably the first time he's really been doing that. But he's like, yeah, man, I feel great. And he brought something up that I want to talk about. I think a little bit later on in the show, we'll touch on it. I want to get through these pressers first and these interviews. But he talked about going back to Ohio State. He talked about working out with Larry Johnson. It was funny because, as a member of the media, I feel like you're the place kicker of this whole operation. As fans, they're a conduit for us, right? That we get a lot of information from them and the questions that they ask and the answers that the players give. And so there is a responsibility and a duty that they have to uphold. However, you have one job, okay? And your job is to formulate great questions that people want answers to, and to know what the hell you're talking about when you ask these questions. It's something simple, but you can't F up the dude's name that Chase Young sees as a mentor and a great coach and a father figure. You can't do that, man. Okay, his name's not Randy Johnson. It's Larry. Okay, like, what are we doing here? Anyway, yeah, the guy butchered his name, and Chase is looking at it like, who the hell is Randy? And he repeated himself because he was unsure. You know how when you test your kids, because you want to see if they're confident in their answer or not. So you say, what you say? What's 8 times 8? And they go, 64. You're like, what? It's how much? 64. Did you say 64? You said with a question like, did you say 64? You sure? Because they're not sure, right? You can tell. Chase gave him an opportunity to just say, Coach Johnson. Just move on, bro. You don't know his first name. He didn't take that olive branch that Chase was extending, that life raft he was throwing him. He repeated Randy, and Chase was like, nah, I don't know no Randy. And Chase, he ain't have to do him like that. He could have just said, yeah, he could have just kept talking and said Larry and said his name, because that's what people normally do when they don't want to embarrass somebody. Chase like, nah, I can't let it slide, bro. Can't let it slide. I don't know no Randy. His name is Larry. Anyway, He said, I went back to Ohio State, worked with Larry Johnson, and I took Tez with me. And I said, huh, interesting. Put a pin in that. We'll come back to that. So a lot of people wanted to know, how does he feel? What's the thing that he feels like is back the most? And he's like, y'all just going to see. Y'all just going to see. And, you knew this question was coming. Do you feel like you have something to prove to, the fan base, the rest of the league, yada, 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 teammates, yourself, any of that stuff? And he was like, nah, just go out there and play Chase Young football. That's his favorite line. Just go out there. Same thing with Jamin Davis. Or, Chase might not talk about himself in the third person. Sometimes he does. Most of the time he'll be like, I'm going to just go out there and play my game, man. I'm going to just be me, But Jamin Davis you're going to get some Jamin Davis football. You're going to get at least one of those. I'm just going to play Jamin Davis football. Okay. So Chase is, you know what? He's got that swag back. Look, Chase has never been one to lack confidence. Even when he was in the midst of that 1 sack season, Chase was like, yeah, them shit's going to come. I ain't even tripping. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to just go out there and be me, Chase he hears everything. Don't think he doesn't. Again, these young dudes be on socials. Don't buy the hype of, yeah, I ain't really on social media. I don't be really following it. Nah, they hear everything. And again, if they don't hear it, somebody else that they rock with hears it and brings it to their doorstep. Just like I don't be on socials, but y'all make sure I hear every goddamn thing. And I am very appreciative of that, just so you know. So trust me, just like y'all be making sure I stay in the loop, people make sure Chase knows what the hell's being said about him. He ain't oblivious to that shit, and he knows. So I think he's ready to explode. I know y'all saw the clip of him putting that move on Charles Leno's ass and beating him inside and flushing Sam from the pocket. Would have probably either been a sack or a throwaway, or he would have had to run away from him. Chase is looking good, man. But again, I've been here with him. He ain't gonna suck me in. I need to see it on Sundays, Mondays, and some Thursdays. All right. I'm not falling for the banana in the tailpipe. He gonna have to show me, but I'm rooting like hell for him. Like hell. Trust me. Anyway, I digress. Let's get to some of these media scrums right off the practice field with some of these players. I'll save the best for last. So let's go through all of these offensive linemen that they talked to. Let's start with Cos, man. Sam Cosmi making that transition from right tackle to right guard. And he's already explained to us the biggest difference. He reiterated that again in this particular interview, where he pretty much said, look, when you're at tackle, you have the ability to, first of all, the players are smaller, right? You're not dealing with 300 and whatever pound behemoths inside. Generally speaking, unless they run a twist or some kind of game up front, you're going up against a 250, 60, 70, maybe 80, but more likely than not, 250, 245 to 275-pound, edge rusher. He's like, and there's a lot more space for you to operate, a lot more distance created. You get into your pass set, and that guy's getting a run-in start and all of that stuff. But you get a chance to kind of brace yourself. Not a guard. Action is right at you, right off the snap. Bigger dudes, not as much space. You're kind of in a confined, tight space. So he's adjusting to all of that, but he's like, yo, I'm made for this, and I'm adjusting. And the more reps I get, the better I get. So I think he's a natural guard. I remember when he was coming out of Texas, I thought that would be his position, honestly speaking. Eventually was that he would be a guard. I was hoping he'd stick at tackle, but I was like, he looks like Brandon Sheriff to me in terms of what he ultimately will be. And that's where he is. And hopefully he turns into a beast like Brandon Sheriff. And unlike Sheriff, who, could count on 4 or 5 games of him missing throughout the season, hopefully he stays healthy and starts to do a hell of a job at right guard. Nick Gates. First time we really heard from him since he signed here, other than, when he first signed here. And I love what he had to say about the offensive line, because they asked him, how is the line gelling and meshing? And he's like, it's a work in progress. You really can't get a great feel for what's going on until you put the pads on, especially with the offensive and defensive lines, which it's spot on. Somebody said lure. Yeah, that's how you say it, lure. Y'all stupid. You can't really get a sense of what is going on until you put the pads on, and he's 110% spot on. And so he's like, yeah, I love the fact that I get to go up against these defensive tackles, even though Payne hasn't been in there these first 2 days. He's like, going up against Allen and Payne and all of these guys, it's going to make me better. He said, I used to circle these games against Washington on the calendar because I knew how good these guys were. And now going up against them in practice is going to sharpen my skill set. And look, they kind of mirror a lot of the guys that we see in the NFC East. The Eagles pack, a hell of a defensive line. We know the Giants' interior is just as good, if not better than ours. I'm not putting them ahead of ours, but you can go right ahead if you'd like. But they're one of the few tandems in the league that can compare to ours. And so, and Dallas has some quick guys inside, that can pose problems. So he was like, yeah, it's good work. It's good practice. Same thing was said by Charles Leno Jr. He said, I miss going up against Chase. And I'm glad he's back. And you know who Leno is? He's another one of these dudes I appreciate speaking, because Charles Leno is going to say exactly how he feels. And he's one of the few dudes, I think Benjamin St. Juste and Logan Thomas are like that as well. They really don't give a damn, especially Juice and Leno. Logan Thomas will be a little bit more measured, but he still says how the hell he feels, and I appreciate those dudes. I appreciate Kendall Fuller, because I know I'm going to get the reels from them dudes. And Leno was like, man, I miss Chase. I miss going up against him. I need that work. Clearly, you missed going up against him last year, because the elite rushers, hell, the dude from Detroit wasn't elite and he got in your ass. And Kayvon Thibodeau got in your ass last year. So you clearly missed him. But he said, I could tell last year Chase wasn't sure. You could tell he was tentative out there. He wasn't sure about what he could or couldn't do. He wasn't himself. And, that's probably natural when you first come back from an injury. But now he back. He all the way back. Okay. We can see he put a nice little move on your ass today. Okay. So he's like, yeah, man, it's good to have him back. And iron sharpens iron. And so, I'm looking forward to getting that work, man. I'm hoping it makes him better, for the upcoming season. Leno also talked about the biggest improvement that he's seen from running back Brian Robinson. And he said, the biggest improvement I've seen from him is his ability to catch the football. And that takes me to our guy, Sam Howell. And the day that he put up today was another excellent day. And that's all I'm asking Sam to do each and every day, is just stack another good day on top of another good day. That's it, man. The good day column is in the left-hand column. Just keep putting bricks over there, okay? Keep stacking up bricks in the left-hand column, as we like to say on this channel. Whether we talking wins and losses or good days or bad days, it's all in the left-hand column. Shout out to all my left-handers out there. Y'all know what it is. Keep stacking them up in that left-hand column, man. Keep stacking them up like bricks. Day one was a really solid day for him. Day two was an even better day. And he made some even more crisp and precise and accurate throws. One of those throws was to Brian Robinson out of the backfield. It's a throw that I still don't know how the hell it got in there. All right. There were two defenders right there, including Cody Barton, who I thought was going to pick it off. And the shit zings right past both of them into the arms of Brian Robinson. I was like, shit, Sam. But that just goes to show you the arm strength is there. And, you know, when you're not used to playing against quarterbacks with stronger arms, that's a pick last year. Just so we know, we're clear. That's a pick last year. Doesn't matter who the quarterback is. And Carson can throw it. He can fling it a little bit. But if that's Heineke, he's definitely a pick. He wouldn't have even tried to attempt that pass. But Sam was, you know, super accurate today. Had a deep ball to Terry down the sideline. Terry beat Forbes on that particular play. He missed a corner route. Sam missed a corner route. Had a receiver open on a corner. Put a look. That receiver could have caught it. And I didn't see who exactly it was. I want to say it was Diami. I'm not sure if it was him or not. But he could have hauled it in. And he went up to get it. It was so high, though. Sam needed to bring that down. He was wide open. And he went up to climb the ladder to get it. And as he went to pull it in, he threw the damn ball on the ground instead of tucking it and bringing it in. But that was one of the few misses on the day for Sam. He was excellent today. Loved the work he turned in. And from all reports, he continues to be razor sharp, continues to show command of the offense and the things that they're doing right now. You know he's going to be really comfortable because they're in more of a RPO type system, which is right up his alley. So I like the strides that he's making. Just continue to stack these. And look, there are going to be days where they say, man, Sam struggled today. It's going to be days. Understand that. But with no pads on, early in camp, I like what I'm hearing because I expected some of those rough days to be early in camp. And we haven't had that really yet. So I talked to you about the defense yesterday and how, you know, Ron said they picked right up where they left off, and I said they should have done that. Well, the defense was really disruptive today, especially in the 11-on-11 drills where they were allowed to blitz a little bit more. That's not something they really did in day one. They picked up the intensity today. They were allowed to blitz a little bit more. The offensive line was not its best today. The protection was not great. Both Brissett and Howell had to scramble out of the pocket multiple times to avoid rushers. And so that's definitely going to have to be cleaned up. Again, I don't want to read too much into it. It's just helmets and shells, right? I don't want to put too much stock into it yet. When they put on the pads, though, that's when it's just helmets, rather. I don't want to put too much stock into it because they haven't put on any pads yet. They're working up the conditioning, and that's what Ron talked about, just getting that conditioning where you need it to be before you put the pads on. But the offensive line was not good today. Not up to the standard that we want it to be. But even saying that, I think it was Gates who said that they'll be aided by the quick passing game. No, it was Cosmi. Cosmi was like, yo, it's going to be good to be able to inflict pain on the defense instead of always being the receiver. You know, as an offensive lineman, when you're in pass sets, a lot of times you're absorbing blows instead of dishing them out. That's why offensive linemen love to run the ball, because it allows them to be the aggressors, come off the ball and look to be aggressive. So he's like, you know, when you're in the quick pass game, you get to be aggressive. You're not taking a pass set. You know, you're looking to strike that guy and either get him off his feet or, you know, at least keep his hands down so he's not, you know, deflecting a pass or batting a ball in the air. So you get to be aggressive. So, and in those RPOs, they are aggressive because they don't know if it's a run or pass. Obviously, that's what RPO stands for, run, pass, option. So they're run blocking all day, right? And it's your job as a quarterback to pull it out of the belly of that back and throw it quickly because you don't want any offensive lineman down the field, or hand it off to that back and let them run. But they're run blocking. That's how you can tell it's an RPO a lot of times. Are they run blocking or pass set? They're run blocking, and they end up throwing a pass. It was an RPO. So, offensive line definitely didn't have a great day. Dyami Brown with a big catch down the left sideline on Tariq Fields, Castro Fields. It was probably the best catch of the day. He literally went up top shelf, went and got that thing and pulled it down. Beautiful play by Dyami. Ron brought up, because they asked him about Dyami, and Ron said, you're seeing a lot of the things that we saw from him when he came out of college. I didn't realize he was such a contested catch guy at UNC. So many of his passes that he caught were down the field, explosive, deep balls that I didn't realize. But, it makes sense because Dyami, I don't think, is a great route runner. So I don't know if the separation is necessarily there. So that forces him to have to make contested catches. That said, making contested catches and having speed is dangerous, because that's what you're seeing out of Terry. Even though Terry has developed into a really good route runner over time, contested catches from a guy that can run is great, because now when you combine the two, you put yourself in a position where you run down the field. Maybe it's an underthrown ball. Maybe your quarterback gives you an opportunity, as Brissett did on that 50-50 ball down the sideline, and you just go up and you get it. So Dyami seems like a man on a mission this offseason. And this is a big year for him, as I mentioned, because the safety blanket of Ron and Marty and Martin may not be there next year. That's a safety blanket. When they spend a third-round pick on you, they're going to give you every opportunity to prove that you can or you can't. They're not here next year. This next regime is going to come in, and they won't hesitate to cut Dyami's ass. Because I didn't draft you. You're not my guy. I'm going to draft a receiver in the 5th round, and if my guy is even remotely close to you, I'm cutting your ass. So I think he realizes this is a big damn year. This year 3, they'll cut my ass in year 4. No hesitation if Ron and company aren't here. So I think Dyami looks like he could be poised for a really – I've already said I think it's going to be a breakout year for him. Last year, obviously, was the biggest year that he had, and it was only still, 200 and something yards, maybe 300. I expect 500 and something yards receiving for Dyami Brown. I'm looking for a Cam Sims 2020 type season out of Dyami this year. Remember how big Cam Sims was for us in 2020? That's the kind of year I'm looking for from Dyami Brown this year. And I think he's fully capable. So I want to ask this question. I told you to put a pin in Chase Young talking about taking Montez Sweat with him to Ohio State to work out with Lur Johnson, Coach Lur. Chase elaborated on that. And this is the first time we've heard him say some things similar to this, but this is the first time I've ever heard him elaborate quite like this. We know how close of a friendship him and Tez have. But for him to take him to Ohio State with him and then Chase to say, yeah, me and Tez, we're in constant communication. It ain't too many things that we don't do together. They got the same agent, all of that shit. Like, they're best friends. Literally. Like, Jonathan Allen and Da'Ron Payne are probably best friends. They went to Bama together. They're super tight. Chase Young and Montez Sweat are best friends. Like, literally, you see one, you see the other. No cap. Do you really want to break that up? I don't. Do you really want to break that up? Now, look, if one ain't producing, yeah, deuces. It's a business decision. You got to do what you got to do. But somebody asked me today, and I've been asked this question 50 different ways. It's the same question. Who you choosing, right? And I've already made it abundantly clear. I think this is the year of Montez Sweat. I think the Da'Ron Payne light bulb contract year explosion is due for Montez Sweat. I think he's up next, personally. He's been hovering around 10 sacks, hasn't broken through yet, been really consistent, always close to the quarterback. I think this is the year where he starts to get him down. What if, and I've posed this to you guys a number of times already, but what if both of them have big years? What if? You've already paid Allen, you've already paid Payne. What if Montez has 11.5 and Chase has 12.5? What if? What do you do then? I think the only scenario in which you keep both of them is if Sam isn't the franchise guy. If Sam's the franchise guy, you can't keep both. Can't. Because you're going to have to pay Sam the following year. And if you keep both of them, you'll be in too deep on that D line, and you can't move money around, because Jonathan Allen would then be in year 3 of his extension. That's got to be fat money. Payne will be in year 2 of his extension. Got to be fat money. And Sweat and Young would be in the first year of that extension, maybe. Or not extension, excuse me, because they don't have any years left on their contracts. So it would be the first year of their deals, right? You can get away with structuring the deal in year 1 where it doesn't affect you cap-wise as much. But year 2, I'm going to start busting you over the head. And when you get to that second year is when you would have to pay Sam Howell. Because, again, Sam is not a first-round pick. You don't have the 5th-round option, 5th-year option at your disposal. So there's not an extra year for you to bullshit around. If Sam plays well this year and he plays well next year, you have to. And again, if he doesn't play well this year, then that conversation is dead and gone. It's a moot point. You just move on, right? If Sam plays well enough this year, then you got to keep that space available for him, assuming that he plays well again in 24. You're going to have to pay him immediately after that season, because then you're going into the final year of his contract in 25. So you got to pay him. There is no extra year. So it's a dangerous proposition if you try to keep both, knowing that that monster contract for your franchise quarterback is right around the corner. The reason we've been able to spend so much on the defensive line is because we don't have, and we haven't had, a franchise quarterback in ages. We haven't paid a quarterback real money since Alex Smith. We paid Carson Wentz for 1 year, but we gave Alex Smith real money over like 3 or 4 years. Remember, he snapped his leg in half, and we couldn't get out of his deal for another like 2 years after that. He snapped his leg in 18, couldn't get out of it in 19. He came back and played in 20, and we finally were able to get out of it after he left in 21. That's the last time we gave up some real money. And even that still wasn't like, roster altering money. It was good money for a guy that we, didn't necessarily want in the first place, but weren't complaining about, but wasn't really able to play here all that often. But we haven't paid any astronomical amounts of money to a quarterback. So we've been allowed to splurge in areas that you wouldn't normally be able to splurge. Well, that could all come to an end. But just seeing their relationship, understanding that those guys, like, if you've ever played sports, and it doesn't matter at what level, you want to know why people talk so fondly of high school and college, is because you're playing with your buddies. You're playing with your friends. That makes it much more enjoyable. When you're playing with your best friends, when you're playing with dudes that you rock with, that makes it so much more fun. There's a different vibe. When you get to the NFL, you don't get to choose your team. You don't get to choose who you're playing with. You just hope that the dudes on the team are cool, right? So imagine when you're playing on the team with your best friend. And I don't know if Tez and Chase are best friends, like that's my best friend, but they're the best of friends. I can tell you that. Terry and Curtis are like the best of friends. I don't know if that's his best friend or not, but they're the best of friends. It's probably his best friend in the league. Da'Ron and John, same thing. Like, that's why this roster is so close. That's why these guys are so tight. Now, again, the longer you're on a team with somebody, the deeper a relationship you forge. Of course, it makes sense. But Logan Thomas told us last year, his best friend on the team was Taylor Heineke. So that shit isn't going to change now that Taylor Heineke is in Atlanta. That's still his best friend. And it's okay that his best friend's not on the team anymore. But that's how it happens sometimes. So I looked at a bunch of photos this offseason. Those two are always around each other. Hearing Chase say that he took tests with him to Ohio State to work out, that's big. I don't want to break those two up. And I think they feed off the energy of each other. Like, look, Tez is a big ball of energy anyway. And you know Chase is as well. But imagine those two, and we missed that last year. We really, truly did. And Tez had a lot going on in 2021. You know, lost his brother, broke his jaw, all kinds of shit going on in that season. It was not a good year for him or Chase. They're both locked in. They know what they're, fighting for, which is a contract. I find it hard to believe that if these dudes are healthy, that they're not going to post a big season. And let the debate begin, because honestly, you're seeing Chase. He's healthy. Everybody's ranting and raving about him being back. The brace is off. He looks spry. He's explosive again. The get off is there. Yada yada yada. Teams are interested. We're not trading him. You're going to hear a bunch of rumors. Just tune those out. We're not trading Chase Young. Not now, at least. What if? And I still think even if when Sam proves that he is the franchise quarterback, not if, when, there's still a way you can franchise one, long-term the other, right? So you figure out what's really good. I'm just going to say, I don't know if this is for sure the last season of both of those guys on the squad. More than likely it is, but it doesn't have to be. I don't want to break them up. But anyway, I digress. So that was day 2 in a nutshell. Something else Charles Leno Jr. said, can't wait until Saturday, because he's like, a lot of people have to work during the week. I expect it to be jam-packed out there. And so he's looking forward to the Saturday practice. And he's like, and he said something profound. And this is why I rock with Charles Leno, because he's aware. He understands what's going on. He was aware last year about the ownership and Daniel Snyder and how the fans felt about, because he in the community. You can tell the dudes who are actually in the streets, in the city. He understands the vibe, right? Charles Leno is very aware of what's going on. He's very, which is why he was the Walter Payton man of the year representative for Washington because he's in the streets, like he's really in the community, right? So he knows how the fans really feel. And he was like, look, man, I love all of this support out here, the stands. He's like, look, this is what happened when you spend money, right? You got an owner that's willing to spend a little bread. But he's like, at the end of the day, this is all great. But winning is what's going to bring more fans to FedEx Field, which is what we want. Ultimately, we want the fans in the stands at FedEx Field when it matters. And he's like, winning is the only thing that's going to do that. Well said. Well said. So, anyway, I digress. Let's get to the comment section. See what you guys have to say. Sam Howell looking good, man. I'm feeling really good about Sam. But, I mean, the first 2 days of camp isn't going to change anything. And I told you there's going to be some days in there where he's not as sharp. That's not going to change my frame of mind. I know what Sam is capable of. So I'm looking forward. I can't wait till the first preseason game because my assumption is, even though they're practicing with Baltimore, I still think they're going to play their guys in the preseason. Just a smidge, not a lot. That first preseason game. I can tell you Baltimore won't be playing any of their guys in the preseason game. That's how Harbaugh rolls, especially if they get in some joint practice work. Generally, he's going to trot out his second unit. So I can't see us getting any Lamar Jackson in that first preseason game. But whomever is out there, if they put their second string out there, all right, fillet their ass then. Whatever. I ain't tripping. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, I digress. Mr. Pink kicks the night off. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB who writes. Sup, Louie T, double E. What's going on? Or Lou T double E, excuse me. Curious what your top 3 options would be if we were, in fact, to rename the team again. I'm late, but I hope you had a great birthday. Appreciate that. I did. I don't have it. I don't have any. I told you guys this the entire time we were going through the rebranding process. The first time, I really don't give a shit what they name the team as long as they don't embarrass us. And they're not. We're not talking about a pet here. We're talking about an NFL franchise. They're going to do their homework. They're going to see what they feel like is the most, what makes the most sense for the organization. And that's what they're going to name the team. And so if they go through and I think they're going to rebrand again. I truly believe that they're going to change the name down the road. I don't really care what the name is. I'm going to bitch about it because it's not going to be Redskins probably when they first name it, just like I did Commanders, like, it's whack, but whatever. I don't care. Let's move on. We're the Commanders now. My brain's going to go to work on how I can, fit my brand around the new name and then keep it pushing, right? Because I'm not one to cry over spilt milk. So I don't have any control over it. And as much as they'll try to make you feel like you have some control over it, you have no control over it. They're not going to allow the fans to name the team. Yeah, right. So at the end of the day, whatever they decide that this team is going to be, the Warriors, the Red Hogs, or whatever the hell they think the name's going to be, all the names that they come up with before, maybe add in 1 or 2 other names, go for it. Knock yourself out. I really would prefer to just stay the Commanders. And you know what? As whack as what Washington football team was, if they went back to that, so be it. I don't like football team. I guess I'll say this, anything but that. Don't name us the football team. I know a lot of people actually like that. I don't like just being, it's like so plain Jane. I will say this. I wouldn't mind going back to the old uniforms, though. These ones are cool. They're fine. And if they didn't change them, if they didn't rebrand, I'm fine with them. I myself would prefer them to go back to the, old look, the classic look. The real question I have is, whatever you decide to do, are you going to incorporate black? Is that going to be a part of the color scheme moving forward? Excuse me. Because you're not changing burgundy and gold, and white is always going to be a part of the ensemble. I'm not concerned nor questioning that. I think the biggest concern that I have is black going to be a part of the color scheme moving forward? Because I actually like black. Now, do I love our black uniforms right now? They're growing on me, but, they still, as a lot of people said, they look Pittsburgh Steelerish. When we're playing Dallas in Dallas and we have on all black, seems a little weird. If we're going to wear all black, it should be at home. I feel like I don't really think we should be going on the road wearing all black. It just seems weird. But when we played the Vikings, I actually was like all in on the black. It felt right. We were at home. They colored the end zone black. It felt like, they went out of their way to make it feel like like I would like us to have a blackout on a primetime game. Tell the fans, wear black. We're at home. It's a blackout. And you wear your black unis. It's nighttime. You color the end zones black. That'll probably be dope. That's the biggest question I have. Not necessarily the name. Whatever they name it, I'm go along and get along when it comes to the name. It's not Redskins. I'm passionate about that name. We're not getting it back. I'm okay with that. I've already reconciled that in my brain already. So I'm not tripping over that anymore. Whatever they decide to name the team, people are going to be upset no matter what. You're not going to please everyone, especially the crowd that isn't going to be pleased with anything other than Redskins. So with that in mind, my question is, are we going back to the older uniforms, the classic look? And if so, is there a black uniform in there anywhere? Or are we just done with black now all of a sudden? These are all questions that they'll be able to answer a year or two from now. Like, as they've said since they've gotten here, we just got here. We're going to focus on three things: winning football games, so on the field production, fan engagement, and getting into the community. They've done the community thing, buying fans beers at bars and parties that were celebrating change in ownership. They've already engaged the fans by putting stands at the practice facility so fans have somewhere to sit and a little bit of shade. And now they're working on the product on the field. And that's going to take time. So anyway, I don't have any options because I've never been really that obsessed with the name. You know that. Or if you don't, now you do. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, Mr. Pink. Jace Jackson. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Jace. Thank you for the super chat. Who writes, what up, Lou? What's up, Double J? The first 4 to 5 games are going to be a test. Need to start fast. I'm about to put the house on us having more than 6.5 wins. Should be good, right? Keep grinding. Good things are coming for you. I appreciate that, Jace. Yeah, you safe on putting that massive bet down on us hitting the over on 6.5. The disrespect is so real. I've been talking about it all season. So it's not new to y'all. But trust me when I tell you, we will win. Rivera is good for a 7-piece. We know that. If nothing else, he's good for a 7-piece. Now, I will say this. In a year where he's coaching for his job, if he gets fired due to a slow start, you could have a 6-win season. This thing could unravel, and you could, That's what happens when you got a coach who could potentially be on the hot seat. You know, I don't see Ron getting fired in season unless it's like Nathaniel Hackett bad, and it's not going to be. That's not what we're doing over here. So the way I see it, Ron's going to finish the season whether it's good enough to save his job or not. And if Ron starts and finishes the season, that's a guaranteed 7 wins minimum. So yeah, you're safe there. Big facts. Appreciate you, Double J. Video channel. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB video channel rights. Lou went from dragging Jacoby B to giving that man high praise. Love to see the growth. I see. Look, first of all, I need you to not be spreading malicious rumors here. All right. I wasn't dragging Jacoby Brissett. Okay. I just was like, so many of y'all were like so excited he was here. Oh, I love the signing. And I just wasn't buying that shit at the time. I was like, I mean, I'm cool with him being here. You know, he doesn't move the needle for me. You know, some people were even saying, hey, he had his best year of his career last year. I'm like, get out of here with that shit, man. Get out of my face with that nonsense. I think it was me pushing back against that and, you know, not wanting to hear that Sam was getting some competition because I didn't view Jacoby Brissett as competition, true competition. I think it was more so me pushing back against that than it was me actually ragging on Jacoby Brissett. But you're not wrong. I wasn't like over the moon excited when we got him. A lot of people were like, yo, this is the perfect back. This is the guy I wanted the entire time. I'm like, y'all can have that shit. I'm on board now. I'm all in. All of those people that felt that way from day one, I'm right there with you now. It took me a while, but I'm there now. So if you want to call that growth, go right ahead. Be my guest. I'm not going to stop you. But yes, I am definitely team Jacoby Brissett here in terms of him being on the roster and backing up and mentoring Sam Howell. I think he's the perfect guy for the job. Brendan McCloskey, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, what up, Lou? Did you get a haircut? If you did, looks fresh, man. Howell throwing darts, Chase having fun. Bring on September already. I can't wait. So to answer your question, I did get a haircut. I did not cut my hair off. Just got an edge up. So a little bit of a difference. The reason you don't see hair coming out of my hat is because my hair is not done. So my hair will be done tomorrow, and then you'll see the hair coming out of my hat again. But it's not done right now. And so hence, I did get a cut today, though, edge up. So that's why everything looks cleaned up and you don't see the hair. So you're thinking, hey, did he cut his hair out? No, I ain't cut my hair off. But I appreciate it. I feel clean. You know, anytime and that's what the barbershop does for you. Makes you feel good. It makes you feel clean, right? How throwing darts. Praise him. Chase having fun. Amen. Bring on September already. I can't wait. Hallelujah. It can't get here fast enough. You know, August, August is enough. Right? I'm jonesing right now. August is enough. Just getting a little taste, you know, maybe a couple of possessions. It's enough, you know. Then maybe a quarter, maybe a half, and then nothing in the third It's enough to satisfy me until we get to September. I just need something. I just need something. Until we actually have a preseason game in the middle of August, it's going to be a lot of this shit we doing here. Talking about practice. Not a game. Practice. That gets old quick. So I can't wait until practice is done and we start talking about games. Bring on September. I'm not looking to look as you get older in life. You're not trying to speed time up at all. I am not looking to fast track anything right now. I let's just enjoy the rest of July. will creep through. You know, my son's starting elementary school in 2 weeks. Like, total mind blow. Like, shit's moving too fast. Slow down. Slow down, down. Slow down, down. Slow down. It's moving a little too quick for me. So I ain't rushing it. Because you know what's going to happen as soon as we get to September? You're going to blink twice, and it'll be the week before Thanksgiving, and it'll be week 12, and we're playing Dallas, and you're like, damn, the season's almost over already. So I ain't going to trip. But I can't wait to see the fellas on the field, though. I am looking forward to that. Thank you for the super chat, Brendan. Greatly appreciate you. You doubled up. It's the same one, but I appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, Brendan. Really do truly appreciate you. All right. Metaphor. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My God, Metaphor writes, Lou, let's welcome all youngins to the Unsniders. Yeah. This is new territory, man. And you know, blessings on top of blessings for all of the new fans that come on board that never had to deal with his shit. They'll never ever know what it's like to have the reign of terror dropped upon their heads. That's a beautiful feeling. And for those who just got here and you didn't get a lot of it, you just got a little tip of the iceberg. Good for you too. I'm glad you're free. For us veterans that ate the vast majority of his reign of terror, I can't be more excited. And for those of you like myself who ate the entire thing, ate that thing up, we free. God damn it. We free. Man, it feels good to be free. You know, come one, come all, young, old, it don't matter. Welcome to this new era of Washington football. How sweet it is. How sweet it is. Meta, thank you. And I got a special thanks for you, Meta, coming as well, man. You got me. You got me good. You know what I'm talking about. Christopher McLaughlin, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Chris, writes, hey, Lou, hope all is well with you and the fam. Likewise, Chris, hope all is well with you and yours. What are your expectations for Logan Thomas this season? Also, beside the quarterback position, how far do you think we, talent-wise, from competing with the Eagles and the NFC? As always, great questions, very thoughtful. Logan Thomas, I know y'all saw the catch he made in day one of camp from Sam, where he climbed the ladder and went up and got that football. Logan Thomas, I think, is going to be back this year. And I think he's going to be a problem. I think we're going to see the 2020 version of Logan and not the 21 and the 22 version that was struggling and dealt with injuries and things of that nature. I think you're going to see the 2020 version that we fell in love with. And if he can lead that tight end room, Ron talked about that today, the tight ends room. And I thought he was a little bit too effusive with his praise of the tight end room because he's at practice every day. He don't know how good they're going to be. You know, none of us do. They're out there every day. They don't know. Like, maybe they do. And maybe it really was a Scott Turner thing, which we believe, by the way. Scott Turner held back the tight end position as a whole. But and maybe they do know that they got some talent out there. I want to see it. But I'm bullish on Logan being back this year because he made a believer out of me in 2020. And when he's healthy, he's such a big target. Not the most athletically gifted dude in the world, but he knows how to get open, use his body, really sure hands. You know, we've seen that over the years. Logan catches just about every goddamn thing you throw his direction. I'm so happy he's healthy, man. He's such a big part of the offense when he's right. And so a big target like that is a quarterback's best friend over the middle of the football field. I think he's going to make a huge difference this year. I do. I truly do. As far as talent-wise, where we stack up in the NFC and in the NFC East, specifically talking with Philadelphia, I still think the Eagles are more talented than us. I think that, what they did on the defensive line last year, the numbers they put up were ridiculous. They lost some of those guys, clearly, but they feel like they've replenished that group by going to Georgia, the University of Georgia store, and racking up the last 2 years. And so they feel good about the guys that they're going to put on the field. We'll see what they are able to do. They lost a lot of players off that defense, that were impactful for them. But even still saying that, they got some talented dudes too. And the offensive line is so good for the Eagles. It may be the best in the league. The defensive line is really good, as we've seen. It's super deep, super talented. The receiver position, I think we got them beat there. I'm gonna continue to beat that drum. I think we got them beat at receiver, but their tight ends, we can't hold a candle to their tight ends. Just Dallas Goedert alone is better than anybody we got in our tight end room. And I think they got 2 or 3 dudes that I'm like, hey, I'll take any one of those dudes. But I think Logan's going to close that gap for us this year with his play. I'm hoping that Cole Turner or somebody like that steps up. I was really looking forward to Amani Rodgers, but obviously that's not going to happen. But their tight ends are better than ours. Their offensive line is better than ours. Their running back room is not better than ours, but ours may not be that much ahead of theirs if we think ours is ahead of theirs. Losing Miles Sanders hurts, but they got a guy that routinely digs in our ass. If you forgot about him, let me remind you that they do have DeAndre Swift now. So, and they already had talent, Kenneth Gainwell and Boston Scott, and they added Rashad Penny. Like, their room might still be better than ours, to be honest with you. It's deeper than ours. That's for damn sure. Quarterback, they got us beat. You got to, call a spade a spade. Jalen Hurts went to the Super Bowl and probably played the best game we've seen from a losing quarterback in Super Bowl history. He was that good in that game. So they got us beat there. And Marcus Mariota is a backup. I like Marcus Mariota as a backup quarterback. So even that, I prefer them to have Gardner Minshew at quarterback instead of Marcus Mariota. Corner-wise, I think they leave a lot to be desired. I'm not afraid of their corners at all. But Bradbury and Slay are a hell of a duo. Don't know what they have behind those guys. And if, they just drafted another Georgia Bulldog. Like I said, they went shopping at the Georgia Bulldog store, added another one of those dudes. They lost a bunch of guys. They lost Marcus Epps. They lost Chauncey Gardner-Johnson back there in the secondary. So I don't know if they're the same back there. We'll see. Linebacker, they lost, both of those dudes that were there for them last year, TJ Edwards and the linebacker from the Chargers. He went to Arizona. So they lost some stuff, but our linebacker core sucks. So even with that said, they probably still got us beat at linebacker. We don't necessarily trust any of our linebackers yet. So I said all of that to say this. The Eagles are better than us, talent-wise. But the gap isn't as great as it used to be. The gap is not as considerable as it once was. We're closing that gap. And if Sam Howell is what I think he is, then that gap is going to be closed even more so, because that's why the gap is so big right now. That in the offensive line. You start to close that quarterback gap, and I'll take us over the Eagles. But for now, because they have a quarterback right now and we don't, not yet at least, you got to give them a considerable nod. But I think we've closed the gap, but we were really far behind. So closing the gap doesn't mean we're right there. It just means we're a lot closer than we've been in the past. Sam Howell's the guy, and I think that gap is really, really, really close at that point, because quarterback is such a big deal, man. Offensive line is such a big deal, and the Eagles have us beat in both of those categories. NFC-wise, I like us a lot. Well, I think we're one of the best 7 teams in the conference. Of the 16 teams, we should be in the playoffs. I didn't stutter. From a roster standpoint, on paper, we should be in the playoffs. You can't tell me that Atlanta's roster is better than ours, or New Orleans, or Carolina's, Tampa. That's 4 teams right there. None of their teams are better than ours. Somebody's got to make it from their division. You can't skunk the whole division. But our roster is better than that entire division, and New Orleans included. Give me our roster over theirs. NFC West, we got a better roster than the Rams. Yeah, you got Aaron Donald. Yep, they got Cooper Kupp. What else they got after that? Matthew Stafford, sure. There's not much left after those 3. I'll tell you that damn much. I'll take our roster over theirs any day. Same with Arizona. Solid football team. They're kind of in a transition right now. Our roster's better than theirs. Hard to say about Seattle. I'm still kind of trying to feel them out. No, on San Francisco. Right? They've built that into a bully over there. Go to the NFC North. Green Bay is a good roster. Just got to see what Jordan Love's capable of. But that's a well-built football team. Minnesota, Exodus, right? All the veterans left. Offensively, with Kirk and Justin Jefferson, you add Addison. You saw life from Osborne last year. They could have something offensively. They do have something offensively. Their defense sucks. Plain and simple. Defense is trash. So I take our roster over theirs. Lions, I like what they're building. I can't say that our roster is definitively better than theirs. I'll take ours over theirs, but I won't put them in the same category that I put the other teams. The Lions are right there if they're not better than ours. They've done a really good job of constructing that roster. A lot of young, talented football players. They got a mentality. They have an identity they've established. I like what they're doing in Detroit. And then there's that's all the divisions, right? And then there's the East, of course. And Philly's better than us. Dallas has a better roster than ours. I think we're on par with the Giants. Before last season, we were light years ahead of the Giants. They've made a lot of improvements to their roster. They're a different football team now. So Cowboys, Giants, Eagles, 49ers, Lions, Packers, Saints, Washington, all of those teams are in the mix in the NFC. That's probably about 8-9 teams, maybe. They're I think a surprise team could be Carolina, but I think we stack up well in the NFC. Probably roster-wise, I'd say we're somewhere in that 5 to 7 range, somewhere in there. 5 to 7. Thank you for that, Chris. And double up. Thank you for doubling up, Chris. Greatly appreciate you. Christopher, my guy Chris writes, "Hey Lou, how do you think, if any, Payne's season last year motivated Chase Young to develop this offseason? Also, who do you expect to be a Pro Bowler this season on the team if everyone stays healthy?" I don't think it motivated Chase watching Da'Ron Payne ball last year, other than just happy to see one of his brothers, as they would say, get paid, ball and get paid and get what he deserves. Chase knows what's at stake. I think what has been so good over the last 3 years that you didn't see during Dan Snyder's tenure very often, and you didn't see with some of the other coaches that were here. But all of that was Bruce Allen and Dan Snyder. So it didn't really matter who the coach was. Is they're taking care of the players that have produced here. You can't tell the players, out of one side of your mouth. If you play hard, you do it the right way, you do what we ask you to do, that you'll be rewarded here, and then let them walk and get their money elsewhere. That's what we were doing for years. Now, we didn't have any exceptional talents that you felt needed to be paid here necessarily, had to be paid here. So I get that. But at the same token, it's really good. It's really refreshing when guys go out and perform at a level that puts them on the map and does everything the right way, and they get rewarded here. We saw it with Allen first, then it went to Terry McLaurin, then it goes to Da'Ron Payne, and you're hoping that it trickles down to Tez and Chase, and or. So, and Cam Curl and some of the other guys that have done, everything we've asked of them here, and you just want to see them continue their careers here, right? So I think that is what he probably took away, is that, hey, he got to the bag, and I know Ron, because he said this to us, so I know he told Chase the same thing. He went to him and he said, hey, Da'Ron did it last year. It's not the same, and I've said this already. It's not the same, Ron, because you picked up the 5th-year option on Da'Ron. It was a contract year, and Da'Ron was not happy. He wanted his deal last year, and he didn't get it. But you went to Da'Ron and you said, hey, bro, you take care of business, and we will bless you. Trust me. And Da'Ron went out and said, Hachu, and they blessed him. Chase is going to have the same opportunity, and I'm pretty sure Ron went up to him and said, bro, we didn't pick up the 5th-year option. It's just business, but you know what it is. You do what Jonathan did. You do what Terry did. You do what Da'Ron did last year in a similar spot that you're in right now, and we will break you off. Chase knows what's up. Who do I expect to be Pro Bowlers this year if everyone stays healthy? That's a tough one, because Pro Bowls don't necessarily reflect how good a player was on your team. It reflects how good he was in relation to the other players in the league at that same position. So I said that Terry could go out and have 1,407-yard receiving season, but if Justin Jefferson goes off, if Cooper Kupp goes off, these are household names, by the way, that Terry is going to be behind, and say, because usually it's like 3 receivers on the Pro Bowl roster, I think. And so let's say Deebo Samuel goes off. They'll probably all get in before Terry. That doesn't mean Terry didn't have a phenomenal season, but it just means that other guys had just as good, if not better, seasons. So sometimes the Pro Bowl can be a little misleading, but Pro Bowl type seasons, who do I think? I'll give you a few names. I think our whole entire D-line is going to be in that conversation. Minus Chase. I got to see with Chase. I can't put him in that conversation. But I think Montez, Montez, Sweat, Jonathan Allen, and Da'Ron Payne will be in that conversation. I think I really think Sam Cosmi will be in that discussion this year if he's healthy. And you already assumed health. Sam Cosmi, I think, is going to play really good at guard this year. I got confidence in him. I think Terry's going to play at a Pro Bowl level. I think that's it. Cosmi, Terry, John, Da'Ron, Tez. I want to throw Cam Curl in there, but he doesn't create enough turnovers. So maybe Defoe. Maybe Defoe. Because it's scary how good he could potentially be in this defense another year. So confident, going in as the unquestioned starter, less thinking, more playing with his speed, athleticism, playmaking ability. Defoe could be a problem. I'm hoping Kendall Fuller and Defoe rub off on Cam Curl and he finds himself around the football making some plays this year. I'd really like to see that. Leroy Will Jones, stand up. You are officially the newest member of the MOBB mob. Y'all know what to do. Show Leroy Will Jones some love. Hey, welcome to the squad, LWJ. Hey, glad to have you. Looking forward to chopping it up with you, man. Welcome aboard. Red Wings, 01. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Oh, my apologies. I didn't even think about special teams. Tress. And until he's not all-pro Revo, until he's not, I'm going to just, he's a fiend. You know, until he's not, I'm going to rock with all-pro Revo and Tress. Last year wasn't Tress's best year, though. He still made it off of, you know, clout. I want to, but you know what did him in last year and why he still made it, and I'm glad he made it, is because there was a lot of punting from around midfield for him. So that's going to bring the average down. But, you know, if you're talking about downing them inside the 20, he got hot. There was a stretch there where Tress was downing, you know, dropping them puppies in there at the 3, and it would trickle down and they would slap it back, or it would hit at the 5 and they get down there and catch it at the 2. Tress was in his bag at times last year. So I want to keep that going. Red Wing 01, thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, if I'm being honest, Lou, the 2019 episode felt a bit disjointed. It was still good, but not quite the standard of the older episodes. Can't say I blame you. Wish we could all forget 2019. The last 3 years should be easier. That episode felt disjointed because it was disjointed. It was rushed, I won't lie, but it was disjointed because 2019 was disjointed. You know, I was all over the place. I didn't mention Landon Collins. That was a big offseason signing. That season is so forgettable, and it was so disappointing. It literally was one of those seasons that I wish I could forget. And so that episode was all over the place. And I'm not going to lie to you, it was a bit rushed. But it would have been disjointed if I had 2 hours to record that episode, which I didn't. It would have been disjointed anyway because that season frazzled me. You know, I went in thinking we were going to be trash, and we were even worse than I expected, which is hard to do because as a fan of this team for a very long time, you know what the thought process is. Hope for the best, expect the worst. And I was in 2019, and it was even worse than that. But I digress. I've tried to forget 2019. I'm not going to lie to you. So a lot of the stuff from that season is hit or miss for me. That episode wasn't my favorite to do. But as we move on, 3 episodes left. I wish, I'll be honest with you, I wish I would have finished this like I had intended to before camp got underway. This was supposed to be helping pass the time before camp got underway. I find myself now like, all right, I started this. I'm a big, if I start something, I got to finish it type of person. And so I want to make sure I finish this with a bang because it's been a great series. But my attention isn't on the series like it should be. Now I'm paying attention. And, you know, I'm an NFL guy. So Joe Burrow gets hurt. Jalen Ramsey goes down. Like my focus is all over the place. It's not just on Washington either. You know how I am. I love football. I eat, breathe, sleep this shit. You know what I'm saying? So now my focus isn't as like, narrowed in on this series like it was when there was nothing else really truly going on. So if it felt disjointed, that's because it was. But that's because 19 was a disjointed season. But I'm gonna lock in for these last 3 episodes. I'm gonna lock in for these last 3 to finish the series up strong. Thank you for the super chat, Red Wings 01. Dream Team Buddha Film Production. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, pay one, tag the other. 1 more year of Young and Sweat. And that ultimately may be what occurs if both of them have big years. To me, if they both have big years, I would hate to see them not trade one of them. Personally, I don't want one of them to leave and all we get is a 3rd round pick in return. If you're not keeping one of them, there is value in trading one of them. So tagging that player and then looking for a trade partner, I think is something that should be in the back of your mind if you're Washington, even if you have no intentions of signing that said player to a long-term deal. Keep him for 1 more year and threaten other teams like, look, you want him now. You want help now. This guy can help you now. If you don't, I have no problems. I've already put a franchise tag in front of him. I got no problems bringing him back and letting him play under the tag for a year. You want him? Come and get him. You want him? Come and get him. You know? So, and it doesn't have to be a situation where, because a franchise tag player, in order to get them, you got to give up X amount of picks if you sign them to a deal. But you can trade for them. You can still trade for that player. Like Josh Jacobs, somebody could say, all right, Vegas, he doesn't want to play for you. We'll trade you XYZ for Josh Jacobs. So I would like to see them at least explore that option if they're not going to keep both of them. Don't just let one of them walk and get a 3rd round compensatory pick. That's trash. Now, if one of them has 12 and the other has 8, and you let the 8 sack guy walk, okay, cool. I get it. But if we talking 2 double-digit sack getters, nah, man. I ain't cool with just getting a 3rd round pick. That ain't going to sit well with me. Frankie, yo. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, someone needs to check and see if Danny was messing with the wires in the press room during camp today. Why was it so dark? I think that had more to do with whomever was filming it than, because you remember they're outside and they got shade. They're in a tent, when they're doing these pressers. If you watch it on the team website, it's bright. They fixed it. So it's just wherever you watched it. If you watched it on YouTube, then it was dark. So, yeah. It's funny. Every time something goes wrong, we blame it on Dan. If the audio's bad, it had to be Dan. Red Wings 01. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Greatly appreciate you, Red Wings, who writes, also, I got my dad hooked on the Reign of Terror series. He's loving it, even though hearing about the downfall of this franchise hurts his soul. Hey, that's crazy. You got Pops watching the series. I appreciate that. I told you it was going to be cathartic and therapeutic. I needed this. I didn't realize how much I needed it until I started doing it and going through those years. I can start to put these years behind me. And I've been telling y'all this for years. Let's forge new memories. Sick and tired of talking about 2005 and 2012 and 2007 and 2015. Like, let's start talking about 2023 and 2024 and 25. Let's talk about this incredible 4-year run that we had where, we were in the playoffs, in the NFC Championship game twice, went to the Super Bowl one. Let's do some of that shit. Right? I'm ready for that. It hurt everybody. to go through what we just went through, especially if you're older like your father, who has seen the glory years and knows what this franchise used to be. And I can't explain to you watching this thing go up in flames. And again, it started before Dan. Like, we blame most of the downfall of this franchise on Dan, and rightfully so. We weren't winning before Dan got here, but 99 is the reason why I really blame everything on Dan. Because if not for 99, we wouldn't have made the playoffs since the last time Joe was here, 1.0. We hadn't made the playoffs since 92 until 99. So 99 gave me hope that, hey, we about to turn this shit around. And then Dan shows up, tries to buy a Super Bowl in 2000, and then the rest is history. Fires Marty in 01 after 1 year, brings in Spurrier for 2 years. That's a disaster. Joe 2.0 shows up. We think we're saved. I can go on and on. But the common denominator is Dan throughout all of that. All of that failure, Dan is at the centerpiece of all of it. So glad that it's over. JP, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, John Perez, writes, Lou, people don't realize how much these players care for each other. A lot of these guys went through a lot of Dan's BS, including 3 and 13, and it was hard. I don't think the players are as affected by ownership as we are. I think sometimes a lot of fans get caught up in our plight, and they just automatically throw that on the players. Those players really aren't impacted by ownership as much as we are. Like, the fans are impacted by ownership because every aspect of being a fan intertwines with ownership, because how we are treated, how we are embraced, the product we get on the field, the team we root for, how much we're paying for concession, parking, all of that shit is tied into the ownership. They control everything. So there's not one part of being a fan that isn't influenced by the owner. Whereas with the players, they just go out and play. The owner signs the checks. As long as those shits don't bounce, they're good, right? So I'm not saying that the players didn't experience some bullshit while they were here with Dan being the owner, because they did. And most of that came from us. How many times did they hear, hey, we ain't effing with y'all like that because of Dan. Until he's gone, I ain't coming to no games. They heard that shit. They know. They feel it on game day when they show up and it's only 34,000 fans in the stands that are wearing Redskin colors or Commanders colors or football team colors. And the opposition has, 27,000 fans there. And by the time you're in the fourth quarter and you're getting spanked, 24,000 of those 34 Washington fans left. And all of those fans of the other team, all 27,000 are still there and they're making noise. Then what? That's what they're sick and tired of. And that's where the biggest change will be. And that's when they'll feel it. This is cool. It's cosmetic. You're at practice. Whoop-de-doo. Yeah, they feel the energy. That is apparent. You're going to feel the energy. We're excited, and they can feel that. But how they'll really – week 1 against Arizona, that's when they're going to really, really start to understand how big of a difference this shit makes. And that's what you're going to hear, I guarantee you. Let us beat Arizona 38-13. This shit is almost a sellout right now, right? It's almost a sellout. Let us beat Arizona 38-13, and the crowd is raucous. Listen to what the players say after that game. That's when they'll really understand. They don't truly understand right now. Most of them haven't even been here long enough to get it. Like, Jahan don't really understand. Forbes can't tell you a damn thing. None of the rookies can, right? They don't know. Them second-year dudes, Jahan and all of them, they don't know. They can't tell you for real. They just got a little taste. It's the dudes that have been here for 5-6 years. The Jonathan Allens, the Da'Ron Payne. Them the dudes that like, yeah, Tressway, they like, yeah, I get it. I feel it. Like Jeremy Reeves, the dudes that have been here for a while, Danny Johnson, they know. But where you really going to feel it is on game day. That's when you're going to see the difference. Mr. Pink, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, Mr. Pink. Greatly appreciate you, writes. Going back, last year you called Ron Ronald. Today, he definitely does seem happy to focus on defense with Jack. EB equals 3 Super Bowl pedigree, 3-time Super Bowl pedigree. Bring on September. I called Ron Ronald a lot last year. And I was fed up with Ronald. I like Ron a lot. Not a big fan of Ronald. So I'm rooting for Ron. Don't want to see Ronald at all. And I don't think we're going to see Ronald. Because Ron is at peace. And he told us, I think it was yesterday, I'm going to focus a lot more of my attention on the defense with Jack. I'm going to walk around and I'm going to be around, but now I get to just really do what I love, and that's coach ball. And my specialty is on defense. I'll be a little bit more involved. Jack will still be in control, but be around a little bit more. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Bring on September. Fat Boy V, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Fat Boy V writes, Lou, love the Reign of Terror series, especially being 22. I don't recall most of it, but love what you do. Hope is brewing. By the way, Brissett is my best friend's cousin, Small. Small world. Excuse me. It is a small world. I realize that going through life, seeing things and being like, yo, you know him? Or damn, y'all related? That shit's crazy. Small world. That's pretty dope. I think he's going to be a really good influence on Sam. I don't expect him back next year, but this 1 year of Jacoby Brissett, going to be cool. I think it's going to be really good for Sam. We really do need to invest in a real backup quarterback, though, because Jake Fromm ain't it. I'm going to just say that. But we're not worried about that right now, so we don't need to make a big deal out of that. John Perez, my guy, JP, double up, thank you for doubling up. Super chat, who writes, seeing 99 run around out there warmed my heart. Hope he's back in good graces with Ron and JDR and he dominates. They'll give him the bag if he does. Look, let me say this, and I think I've said this to you guys already, but let me make this abundantly clear. As an organization, Chase makes the most sense if we're talking about the two pass rushers. If you put a gun to their, you don't even have to put a gun to their head. Just give them truth serum, okay? If you ask them which one makes them the most bread, which one is the most appealing to the masses, which one is more conducive to promoting around the league to fans outside of this fan base? Duh, it's Chase Young. So if they had to choose which one of these guys they want to be here, it'd be Chase Young. Now, with that said, production on the field is going to determine who's here and who's not. But if all things are equal, including production, Chase Young is the way more marketable figure between the two. Thus, that's the one they would want back. Look, Ron and Jack were pissed last season that Chase didn't come back sooner. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. We've already discussed that. That's behind him. It's in the past. If he balls this year, that's water under the bridge. If he doesn't, because Jack's already made it abundantly clear, Montez is his guy. You know, Montez is his guy. Jack and Chase have had this love-hate relationship since Chase got here. Chase has wanted to stand up in the two-point stance. Jack wants him to put his hand in the dirt. So they've been going back and forth about that. You know, Jack wants him here for the OTAs. Clearly, Chase has no interest in it. So there's been a problem about that. And then Jack's the ultimate badass, played in the NFL, played through injuries, knows what the sport is about. And he felt like Chase should have been back sooner last year. Doctors cleared him medically. There was no reason for him to not be on the field. It was all up here. And Chase was like, nah, I'm good. So, yeah, Jack's already made it abundantly clear. Ron, not so much. He was disappointed, but Ron's over that. Jack's like, look, I'm glad he's back. You know, helps our defense. I ain't turning down 99 being on the field. But if all things are equal for Jack, I think he probably goes with Montez. But from an organizational standpoint, it's Chase, no doubt. He just got to go out and ball. But it is good to see him out there moving around the way that he is. Now I want to see it turn into production. Sonny Rawson, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Sonny writes, Lou with the fresh cut, Rip Ramon. Nah, he ain't going nowhere, man. And look, first of all, Ramon was gone a long time ago. I told y'all we snip, 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 snip. We snipped him a long time ago for the good of the team. All right. But the rest of the hair is still here. So, for whatever it's worth. Jay Willard, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Jay, writes, Lou, did you see them not re-upping Julie Donaldson? I didn't. That one caught me as a surprise. Somebody brought it to me on the podcast earlier, and I talked about it. And then my girl Condo P sent me a link. Miss Perry, shout out to Miss Perry, sent me a link to a story that was written about Julie Donaldson not being retained in her senior VP of communications role and media role. Shocking, because I thought she was doing a fantastic job. Her contract was up. They did not renew it for whatever reason. And I'm sure they have their reasons, but I'm at a loss as to why. I mean, it's the same thing. And, you know, I try not to get too caught up in that stuff because, truth be told, I don't watch a lot of that stuff. Command Center, I don't watch a lot of that. I did notice that Michael Jenkins was up there taking a lot of the reps as the host, whereas Julie used to do that. So I was like, that's a little odd, but maybe Julie was stepping back and, you know, working on other projects. But now I know why she wasn't up there. But I don't watch a lot of that stuff. So it doesn't really move the needle for me. I just thought Julie was doing a really good job. And again, when I used to be locked into that stuff, I remember being upset when they didn't bring D'Angelo Hall back. I thought he did a really good job, but they chose to go in a different direction. So it happens, you know, for whatever reason. But no, I did not see that. That caught me by surprise. But as I said earlier, and you could probably go to my podcast, the end of today's podcast, 352nd episode. I kind of talk about it there, like some of the, you know, theories I have in my head. I don't know if they're true or not. but we'll see what role they have in mind for her. You know, if she's back, she'll still be doing the broadcast, apparently, but I don't know if her role is going to expand, if it's going to shrink. You know, if the title changes, but they're still going to have she's still going to have a lot of responsibility. We'll see what's next for Julie Donaldson. I was shocked. I'm not going to lie. Video channel. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Video channel writes, I'm predicting Byron Pringle makes this roster. I think his speed and familiarity with EB is the leg up he needs. Plus, one strong preseason game is the icing. All those things you mentioned are true. He can run. He's got a little bit of size on him. He's a core special team type of player. Can return kickoffs, which is something else is an added bonus for him and benefit. Knows EB's system, so he's going to be able to pick up the offense a little bit faster than some of the younger players. But he's late. He got here late. So he's going to have to win the staff over. But he's got a shot. He got a real shot. I look at him as Eric. The hell is his damn name from last year? The receiver, Erickson, Alex Erickson. That's why I couldn't think of it because I had it wrong. Alex Erickson. I look at Byron Pringle in that regard. Got here kind of late. Solid football player. Adds value as a receiver, but special teams is his thing. Alex Erickson's thing was punt returns in particular, kickoff and punt returns. So we'll see what Byron Pringle brings to the table and if, in fact, he can make this football team despite getting here rather late. Swaggy P, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Swaggy P, writes, my dream is for the whole D-line to have 10-plus sacks. Howell throwing for 30-plus touchdowns, 1,000 yards from Terry, Jahan, B-Rob, or Gibson. Also, love the Reign of Terror series. It is truly therapeutic. Appreciate that, Swaggy P. And the D-line having 10 sacks plus across the board is what the Eagles did last year, pretty much. I don't know if all their starters had 10 sacks plus, but like 5 dudes had 10 or more sacks, I feel like, last year. You had the dude that signed with the 49ers had double-digit sacks. Josh Sweat had double-digit sacks. That's 2. I feel like your boy had double-digit sacks. The one that roughed Heineke at the end of the Monday night game. And I think they had one more dude with double-digit sacks, too. I don't think Fletcher Cox had double digits, though. But, I mean, you got to have at least 4 dudes with double digits. Oh, that's the guy. I always forget about his ass. Your boy from Temple that played for the Cardinals and then the Panthers. I don't know why I can't think of his damn name. The hell is his name? I remember I wanted him in that draft. I want to say he was in the 18 draft. Or was it 17? He was gone before we picked anyway, though. Hassan Reddick. There you go. Hassan Reddick. Thank you, Game Bomber 1 TV2. Javon Hargrave is the guy that went to the 49ers in free agency. Josh Sweat, I know he had double digits. Hassan Reddick definitely had double digits. That's 3. And my guess is the dude that roughed Heineke had double digits too. Brandon Graham. Thank you, Game Bomber 1 TV 2. I think Brandon Graham had double digits too. I think. I'm not sure about that, but I think he did too. I think they had 4 dudes with double digit stats last year. That's what we're hoping for. That's what we're aiming for. I'll take 3. I ain't even got to be greedy. I'll take 3 and another dude hovering around 10. Like if you told me 3 out of our 4 starters had double digit sacks and then somebody else had 8.5, I love it. Love it. 30 from Sam, that's a lot. That's a lot. At your first year as a starter, that's a lot of TD passes, man. I don't know. That'd be great, but that's a lot. 1,000 from Terry and Jahan. It's doable. It's doable. I don't think it's going to happen, but it's very doable. I wouldn't be shocked if it did happen. And 1,000 from B-Rob or Gibson. Gibson is going to have over 1,000 all-purpose yards. I don't think he's going to have 1,000 yards rushing, though. But I do think he'll have 400 and something yards rushing, and I think he's going to be a much bigger threat in the pass game. I can see Gibby with 472 yards rushing and 592 yards receiving this year for over 1,000 all-purpose. But B-Rob's probably going to do the heavy lifting, and he'll be the one that gets over a rack. Thank you for the super chat, Swaggy P. Jamal Hamlin, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Jamal writes, hey, Lou, hope everything is good. I notice Ron is not stuttering less, and so is stuttering less and looks 10 years younger. Anybody can get it. You know what also stuttering represents? When you stutter and stammer, it's not always the case, but for most people, that's a form of I'm not being 100% honest and truthful with you. When there's a lot of uhs and ums and, you know, with Ron, sometimes you just get that, you know, you'll hear him kind of say the same thing 15 times over until he finally gets it out. He'll say is, that's what it is. You got to understand that he'll do that, or he'll be like, see, the fact of the matter is he's trying to think of some shit, you know. It's less of that because he ain't got to make up no shit. You know, his mind is not cluttered. He's able to just go out and be free. And I ain't even got to lie. Like, he used to have to lie for Mr. Snyder. You know, he used to have to lie. I don't got to do that shit no more. And when I say lie, I'm not like covering up shit. It's just, I got to be nice. That's my, you know, that's my employer. He runs the team. I got to be nice, even though I know he's an ass. Anybody can get it, though. It's factual. Big facts. Mr. Pink, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Mr. Pink writes, not caught up, but if Joe B ends up with a season-ending injury, ACL, Achilles, do you think he gets that contract? Must be scary. It looked bad to me. They said it's a calf. Until they tell me otherwise, I'm just going to assume it's a calf strain. Yes, he still gets the contract. Because what Joe Burrow has shown them is that even after tearing his ACL the first time, he came back and led the Bengals to the Super Bowl and then the AFC Championship game. They're pretty confident they know what they're getting out of Joe Burrow. So This is why players want the bag as soon as they can get it, though. And they talk about long-term security. This is why, because anything can happen. But I surmise Burrow is fine. You know, if we later find out tomorrow after tests have been run that it's serious, I'm going to be sad, but it is what it is. And it'll alter the NFL season dramatically because I assume the Bengals are on primetime television 5 times, bare minimum of 4. And now you're going to have to sit through all of those games with a backup quarterback. Unless it's late in the season on Sunday night, which they can flex it. So, yeah, he'll still get the bag. Even if he's injured, they'll still pay him. Sonny Rawson, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, Sonny. Who writes, worried we aren't going to pay Cam Curl. Historically, Ron has never invested in safety. Great point. And the Quan Martin 2 first names pick makes more sense now. You're so spot on about Ron and safety. I've talked about that in the past, but I haven't talked about that in quite some time, and that is a great point you bring up. Ron has never been one to truly invest in the safety position. Going back to his Carolina days, he would always get a retread. He would draft late in the draft and try to find a gem. So some of the names that I can think of from the Ron Rivera tenure in Carolina, some old heads like Roman Harper. He had Mike. What was the name? What was that guy from Indianapolis name? Mike Adams. Yeah, Mike Adams. He had they revitalized the career of what's my man that was drafted by the Raiders. Ron shined him up, and then he went and got a big deal from Pittsburgh and played well for the Steelers for a little bit. Can't think of his name. And it's like a basic ass regular name. Like I can't think of his name. But he did it with him. He was a hard-hitting safety too. Fast as shit. They had obviously Trey Boston, you know. They had the white dude that could run a little bit. That was more of a special teams dude, but they would put him in. They never really truly invested in the safety position. You're absolutely right. And them drafting Quan and them drafting your boy the year before in the 4th round. I don't know if that bodes well for Cam or not. That's a great point. I don't know. If you're thinking about keeping both Chase and Montez, you're going to have to cut a corner or two. That's just the nature of the beast. You can't keep everybody. And that's why, as much as you want to keep both of these ends, you're going to have to make some tough decisions. We get attached to some of these players, but you can't keep everybody. This is a good problem to have, by the way. You want to be in a position where you have a bunch of players that you want to keep. It means you're doing a great job of not only drafting, but developing players. That's what you want. For too long, we didn't have this problem. For too long, we were debating on should we pay Brian Orakpo. Hell no, don't pay his ass. Let him go to Tennessee to get his damn money. Should we play Preston Smith or not? Hey, man, if you pay him, cool. If you don't, I ain't tripping. He goes to Green Bay, and you're like, shit, we missed that one. It happens. He never had that breakout season here. Preston Smith every year, and I liken Preston to Montez, which is why I'm like, I hope this is the year for Montez because Preston didn't have this the same thing that we're doing with Montez. We didn't have that same luxury. with Preston because he wasn't the first round pick. And it was his 5th year that was the breakout year in Green Bay, where he finally put it all together. I'm hoping that extra year, because Montez and Preston are one and the same. Every year, Preston is in the top 5 of the NFL in pressures. He just wasn't getting there, but he ended up with 8.5 sacks. And Jay wanted him bad. Wanted him back bad. And the production just wasn't there, and they let him go. He goes to Green Bay in his 5th year, and he has 13.5 sacks. It all finally came together for him. And I'm like, I don't want to see that happen with Montez, and that's why I'm glad we got that 5th year, and I'm hoping he puts it all together, and we reap the benefits of the 13.5 sack season, and not somebody else. You could be right about, Cam. We'll see. I mean, it's hard to really know because Ron was able to use the crutch of we can't do anything until new ownership comes in here. Because without that, we could just say, hey, what's the holdup? You got Da'Ron done already. What's the problem? What are we doing? But he was able to say, hey, I'm tied up. Can't spend any bread right now. Now you can just say, hey, we focused on the season. We'll figure that stuff out when the time is right. And really what they probably going to say is, do it again. You've been really good, but what's been the mantra of the offseason? We need turnovers. Cam Curl don't produce no turnovers. We got safeties. Like, look at all the highest paid safeties in the league. It's not rocket science, guys. You want to follow the money at the safety position? Find the dudes that are producing turnovers at a high rate. Minkah Fitzpatrick, Justin Simmons, Kevin Byard, Dirty Harry, right? Harrison Smith. You want to see where the money is at safety? Buda Baker. You want to see go to the dudes that are producing turnovers. That's where you'll find the money. Cam Curl ain't doing that. That's why they drafted Quan Martin. You could be onto something. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. Anyway, that is the last super chat. I appreciate Mike Mitchell, Joey Rivera. Thank you. God, that was killing me. Mike Mitchell is the name of that damn safety that he cleaned up from Oakland and shined him up nice. And then he got his money from the Steelers because they weren't going to pay him because, like Sonny Rawson said, Ron didn't pay safeties really. They really don't pay safeties. So we'll see what happens. It's just going to get interesting. Anyway, I digress. I thank y'all for joining me. I look forward to chopping it up with y'all. Now, I'm going to be out of the office over the weekend, but my plan is to leave you guys with the rest of the series. We're going to wrap up Reign of Terror over the weekend. Tomorrow, you'll get 2020. Saturday, you'll get 21. Sunday, you'll get 2022. And now we'll be up to speed. So that is the hope. Bring the series to a close. But you know what I also want to do? I also want to have a live stream with you guys to put a nice, pretty, nice, and neat bow on the Reign of Terror series. Kind of talk about those 23 years all at once. One live stream to put it to bed, to put it to rest, and then we can just finally move forward and hopefully not look back. Unless we choose to. So that is my hope. That is my plan. That is what I'm looking to do. So be on the lookout for that. Anything major happens, I'll have my computer with me, my laptop, and I will jump on it if anything noteworthy happens in camp. If nothing, out of the ordinary happens, then I'll probably just save it for Monday when I'm back in the office. So, and I'll probably either put out multiple videos to catch up, or I'll just do one live stream and kind of bring us up to speed on where we are with the team. And my assumption is they'll be off on Monday. If they're going to be in pads on Tuesday, And my guess is they'll probably be off Sunday. And they'll be out there Monday. But if you're going to be in pads Tuesday, they could be off on Monday, jump into pads on Tuesday and go from there. But the guess is they'll be off on Sunday. Have a nice big practice on Saturday. And then have Sunday off, jump back out there Monday. Or no practice Sunday, heavy film study, meetings and things of that nature Monday, and then pads Tuesday. I don't know. We'll see. They're not about wasting days in camp. So I assume you take Sunday off and then get right back to it on Monday. That'll be the guess. But anyway, I digress. Got one more super chat. This one is from Jamal Hamlin. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, Jamal. Who writes, Lou, I've been rocking with you for a while now and just wanted to say thanks for the content. Living overseas, it's hard to stay up on things, but I can always tap into the LTN. NH, I'm hoping that was supposed to be an O and not an I. I appreciate you, Jamal, man. Thank you so much for the support. And again, I appreciate all of the time, energy, resources that, viewers like you pour into the Louie T Network. It doesn't survive nor thrive without viewers like you. So thank you so much, Jamal. And I need to give a quick shout out to let me find the person's name that sent me a blessing on I want to say it was CashApp. Yeah, Fitz. Thank you for the CashApp, man. Really, truly appreciate you. Can't thank you guys enough for the contributions. Again, if you're on PayPal or you're on CashApp and you want to support, there are ways to do that. As you can see, cash tag or PayPal handle down in the corner of the video. Those links are down in the description of every single video. I can't thank y'all enough for the support, man. So big shout out to Fitz. Thank you for the donation, man. Really, truly do appreciate you. I got a couple comments here from members. I want to knock some of these out as well. See if I can find some of these. Got one. Oh, that wasn't one. Yeah, here's one. Duncan Wright, member for 10 months. What's up, Duncan? He's enemy. He's an enemy, but he's still a fan, right? He's an Eagles fan, so he likes coming in here and trolling. It says honeymoon's over. Dak, Danny, Jalen still own you. Enjoy. He's not wrong about that. All of those dudes have had tremendous success against us, all except Jalen. I can't co-sign that. We beat Jalen in 2020. He swept us in 21, and we split with him in 2022. So he's what, 3-2 against us right now? I don't consider that owns. And keep in mind, one of those wins against us came with Garrett Gilbert at quarterback. So it is what it is. He still beat us. But the other two, Danny Dimes and Dak, definitely own us. And we got to change that shit. Faux show. I got another comment here from Eddie Clayton, a member of the mob for 10 months. What's up, Eddie? Stand up. Stand up. Y'all know what it is. We in the building. Yo, Lou, you think we have a top 10 scoring offense? Top 10 is a little bit on the high side. Scoring, too. You didn't just say like yardage. Scoring is big. So you got to punch it in the end zone. I'm going to say no. Joe Burrow doesn't play this season. That significantly changes Cincinnati, who is a top 10 scoring offense. And they're not in the top 10 anymore. So you would move up a spot. I think we're somewhere in that 13 to 15 range, which is, again, when you go from like 29th in scoring, I think we were last year, 29th to 30th to 15th. That's a pretty damn big jump. I think we're somewhere in that mix. Anything happen to Burrow, you probably can move us up one. And instead of 13 to 15, you're probably 12 to 14. I think that's the neighborhood we're going to be moving into this year. Pack your shit up. We're moving from the Jets to the burbs. All right. We ain't moving into a gated community quite yet on offense, but we're moving into a nice neighborhood, a whole different part of town. Pack your shit up. Let's go. Anyway, I digress. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on this installment of the Command Post. You know what it is. Post up. Take command. I look forward to chopping it up with you guys over the weekend, potentially. If not, you'll have some content from me to get you through the weekend. We'll finish up Reign of Terror. And we'll put a bow on that, hopefully after the weekend. And hopefully nothing, crazy happens over the weekend, and we just get to enjoy the weekend for what it is. But that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T. Until next time, you guys have a good one. God bless. Good night.